Final ending if I didn't know, all other parts down below. I really don't want her back, too much has happened and it would take lots of work. MC, spiritual growing and humbling for it to work and she's not willing to, not now 5 months ago. I was willing to do whatever it took, anything man, for my family. But what can you do if somebody doesn't love you anymore? Nothing. We drifted apart. I just got comfortable in my zone. I thought her love for me was a lot stronger and that when we were willing to make the R work, we would have been able to. I was wrong. She had stopped loving me who knows when. I was blind, deaf and stupid to take notice. Then again, she never communicated her sadness and unhappiness to me. Both our fault. What do I tell myself? She doesn't love me. She thinks she can do better out there. The whole grass is greener thing. I think she is blaming me for her unhappiness in life and that I'm not to blame for everything that's wrong with her. I own my crap, but I'm not responsible for her own happiness. A part of it, yeah, but not the whole thing. She is going to, I see, but more like dealing with where did her love go and dealing with the end of the M, much more than her own issues. After all, according to her, I'm the one with the issues and not her. I still remember the anniversary card she gave me when we turned 2. Thanks for being the best husband, friend in the world. Probably in my first Father's Day in 2016 or maybe it was 2017 she gave me a card saying, "Thanks for being such a great dad to our son." But just a few months ago she didn't trust my judgment and criteria with our son. She said I had to prove myself and demonstrate responsibility. What the hell? When I called her on this I said, "But you used to say I was such a great father to him and I used to babysit him great when he was just a few months old and you used to say, I give you so much work with our son. Most dads wouldn't put in the work you do with ours." And she said, "Just a couple of months ago." That was then. The situation was different and there were things I didn't know about you then. What frigging things? She also said, "But I always left you everything ready, not a big deal. Minimize my good deeds and good traits and maximize my bad ones." Yes, she has rewritten a whole lot of our history. I think at the end she has to do so to justify her decision. Well, it wasn't really a fast change, it was gradually. We were like roommates and we did sleep together, but most of the time initiated by me. She complained at the beginning that she would try to engage in bonding with me and sometimes I turned her down. Crap hit the fan in September when she withdrew from me because she was done, tired and emotionally drained from dealing with my actions supposedly. I had a bit too much to drink at my son's party and she had to drive. I wasn't drunk but tipsy. That's when she changed her attitude towards me. Same time her divorced friend had entered the picture and she would call him a lot. This I confronted her and she said he was a friend from school. I did believe her. Then after separated found out about the calls she made to him on a constant basis. More specifically after I had left. Calls stopped 2 weeks after I left. That's not the reason we separated, but I'm sure it contributes to her mind being messed up. Or not? Probably yes. I believe she compared me and saw qualities in friend that she didn't see in me anymore. Oh well, life goes on. What will always intrigue me was why she stopped calling him. I mean, she talked to this friend almost every day and all of a sudden stop. No more calls. And this was way before I found out. That's the catalyst of that, I'm sure. The time of her change of attitude towards me, as she put it, coincided with her phone conversations with her recently acquainted HS friend. Bear in mind this was an old schoolmate of her, not a friend. She called him a few times as soon as she got out of the house for work at 6 a.m. She gave me an excuse about something he needed at the hospital she works. That was the first call. After I left, no more calls at 6 a.m. The last call was on October the 6th. 31-minute call she made to him. I can't prove she cheated. I don't think it got physical, but she had at least an EA. She's not the one to have long chats on the phone, only with her family. So, the long calls to this long-lost friend made me suspicious. In my gut I knew there was something fishy back in September. Funny thing is I never ever had a bad feeling about her before that. She's a very serious and moral person, or at least up to that point. I will never know to what extent she was involved with this other person. It was the catalyst, but like I mentioned on a previous post, she stopped calling this other man for whatever reasons I will never know. Whether she's involved right now with somebody else, I really don't know. She could be or could not. Still, it would be a mistake on her part, as her anger and resentment towards me hasn't ended. Therefore, it will be more difficult to move on towards somebody else. We are not even divorced yet. Here in our country is more difficult to D than over the US. You cannot cite a reconcilable difference. If there is not a probable cause of D, you both have to agree, and we are still fighting over CS, child visitation rights, and the selling of the apartment. I'm slowly moving on and getting on with my life, which is difficult as I do not have my own place to live right now, staying with my brother. Once we sell the condo and I get my own place, I will be able to restart my life easier. Spending time with my son is also very rewarding. I still believe she didn't think thoroughly her decision and consequences of a D. She was in a fog or missed right about that time. Be it for OM around or her pride and negativity on the whole M, and I can't control that. I can only control my life and what I do and happens next. Working on myself and detaching from my STBX. It's hard, since I have to see her almost every day because of my son. Going through the roller coaster of emotions, sometimes blaming me, blaming her, having regrets, bad luck, bad attitude, resent and anger on her part. I know 5 years is not a lot for M compared to others, but it was a lot to me. You don't am thinking you are going to do, and I really thought I had found my special person, especially having a son. All your dreams start to become reality and you work on that. I was thinking the other day that my previous R with her ex-boyfriend of 9 years that wouldn't marry her must have scarred her and took its toll in her patience and tolerance with me. Well, keep on working on me. I have spent a lovely weekend with my son, even if he's not spending the night yet with me. We are making our bond stronger. I'm there for him and want to be the best dad that I can be for him. I'm not going to be an absent father like my dad was to me. I will make sure that my son counts on me every single day of his life. Dating. That's not something I'm really looking forward. Maybe someday. Right now it's all about my son and me. I really feel like it's going to be hard to trust my heart to somebody else or even trust myself. Casual dating, I guess, would be the logical step, even that I'm not looking forward to. Maybe if I was 10 years younger, I'm 39, I would be all over the place enjoying my single life. Maybe once the D is official I will detach more and we'll see. So, another update. Went to my IC, she says that I'm doing a lot better with everything. More in control and acceptance of everything around me. Resigned, I guess. Also growing and dealing with inner things in my life that have prevented me from being the man I can be. She has spaced our sessions as she says she's seen a big improvement in me from the man that first came to see her almost 5 months ago. I have my off days like everyone else. I told her that I made myself the promise not to engage with STBX, not regarding our M, and that I have decided to take the high road. She congratulated me on this. I have been trying to not engage with STBX, but yesterday we had a discussion. My lawyer and her lawyer went through the visitation agreement over a month ago. After 3 hours of going around they agreed on a lot of things or more. My lawyer and W lawyer made my W come to her senses. She was giving me only 18 hours a month on visitation. My selfish W comes with the excuse that as long as I don't have my own place my son can't sleep with me on weekend. She doesn't trust my brother's place and maybe only at my mother's will she let my son sleep with me. This has been going on for a few weeks, her pulling this card to get back at me. Now she's leaving for 5 days to the US for a seminar and my son will stay with her parents and go to their farm on that weekend. I did not agree. If she's out of the country I should have my son. We exchanged weekends and I will see him 3 straight weekends and she will have him 2 straight ones. She still won't let me have him over. I got real upset and talked to my lawyer. There's no way she can do this. She's depriving me of my right to have my son over the night using excuses after excuses. She wants to see the agreement. Told her it's the usual every other weekend, 2 days a week agreement. I made the dumbest move I have ever made and moved out of my apartment 5 months ago. How do I regret it? My lawyer will have this sorted out. I told my wife or STBXW that I will not back down when it means bonding with my son. And that excuse of, oh, you don't have your own place. I do have my own frigging place that I moved out. If I have to move back to have my son more, I will do it. I really don't give a darn about her at this point. Why is she being such a bit percent and so selfish? I wonder sometimes why I married this woman in the first place. If I only knew back then. Not only she took part of my son's life away from me but now wants to make it difficult for me to have him over. Can't she see that it's going to hurt my son more in the long run? He needs to have that bond stronger with his father. My lawyer is dealing with it right now. This nightmare doesn't end. I already talked to my lawyer and sent my W a couple of emails in a very proper way saying I don't want to fight or take this the legal way. We made an agreement yesterday on how we were going to handle weekends in March. She's leaving for a seminar to the US and leaving our son with her parents. That's her weekend. My son enjoys his grandparents and they love him. I have no problem with that, even though I should be first choice to take care of him if she's not available. All I want is for her to let me exercise my right to spend the night with my son when is my weekend. She has anger issues, always have. She's irrational and wants to make me feel bad because I didn't want to sell her my share of the condo for the $15,000 she offers. I didn't want to pay her the $800 she was asking for CS and jump on her legally by offering a voluntary CS sum of $350, which will be up most certainly by the judge on the hearing, but not to $800. I offered her $450 for a 3.5-year-old boy and she refused. She's still angry and resentful at me because I have not laid down and bowed my head to her petition. She would have liked for me to accept the D and acknowledge it was all my fault and not hers. And I have owned my mistakes. She still resents me for not being the man she thought I was or wanted me to be. That's on her. I don't think the people around her, parents, give her a hard time, especially her enabler mom. My W has made it seem like I was the bad guy and all of this happened because of me and my immaturity. She had nothing to do with it. So, in their mind, I'm an irresponsible parent to my son, not a bit of truth to it. And whatever her perfect only child Queen of Denmark decides is the best solution outcome. I'm sure her mom, the dad, is a more reasonable person, thinks that since I'm the man I should have bowed to her daughter's petition, offerings, and I'm selfish because I didn't want to accept them. My W and MIL, which used to adore me, at the end were criticizing me via WhatsApp all the time, judging me, being prejudiced, thinking that everything I did was wrong, and saying that, yeah, wait until he gets drunk next time. Her mom is her most influential person around. Toxic influence. The day I left the house, I called my mother-in-law and she proceeded to lay every complaint on me. Every complaint her daughter had told her and every criticism she thought of me. She even went as far as saying to me that when we were dating there was an incident, which I don't recall, that we were at their farm and there was a very good friend of mine, my best friend, and we were hanging out, all of us, her family and all, and I went to sleep earlier than anybody, not drunk at all, just tired. And my mother-in-law said to me the day I left that she had told her daughter not to marry me because any decent, respectable husband would not go to bed earlier than his GF. Of course, the situation of her having to leave our apartment once it sells, not her initial plan, and having to move back to mom's and dad's has her pissed at me. She blames me for that too, I guess. Today that I went to pick up my son, she had a quiet attitude. Wouldn't say humble but less bullish. When I said goodbye to my son, she gave me a look. Can't describe it. It was like a puppy or child you just reprimanded. Weird. Maybe it's my head. But yeah, every time I stand up she changes her attitude. Sometimes when we interact I see little reminders of the woman she used to be, mainly when she interacts with my son, but most of the time I don't recognize the woman she has become or the person she has always been, and I didn't know, or some demon has possessed her. Never knew she was this selfish, and I was supposed to be the selfish one. One thing I've learned is that throughout tribulations and hard times is when you see the true character of people. My W is the best of example of this. I have changed a lot of things in these last 5 months, for the better for me and my son. Whether she picks them up, it's up to her. I'm not counting on us getting back together. We'll continue working on me and being a better father. I did write her a letter, I think in January, a very heartfelt letter, which she read and told me that these things are told in person and not by letters. I said, but you never gave me a chance. Anyway, to God to show me the way and makes me stronger and helps me carry this burden. I will have my son for the next 2 weekends, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm doing the best I can and trying not to fall into her traps and whatnots. Yesterday I went to pick up my son to take him to the park. Had a great time. Went back to drop him, and when we got to the apartment I told his mom that I needed to use the bathroom, guest bathroom. She rolled her eyes and twisted her mouth. This is not the first time she has done this, so I said to her, what is your problem? I can't use the bathroom in my own house. She said, use it, use it. I went in there and hugged my son goodbye. Wanted to get into an argument with her, but I left before that. Wrote her a very honest and direct email about it, but I never sent it. I tell you, I'm trying to do this amicably, but she has to complicate things so much. I did leave the house hurt because of her actions. It shouldn't affect me, but it does. I can't believe it has come to this, having to end up like this. It's really emotionally draining. When people tell me, this is her, trust what you see, I believe them. Maybe I didn't really knew my W, and this is her showing her true colors. I don't regret marrying her because a good thing came out of this, my beautiful son. It pains me to have to co-parent with this person the rest of my life. What the hell does she want? Why is she still so frigging hanged up on things? She is very mad and upset that things have not turned out like she planned, hoped, and that I have not bent over like she expected. Saw her this morning when I went to pick up my son for school. She looked beautiful on the outside, but her heart is rotten. I really can't be with a person like that. There is no kindness in this woman. For all the mistakes I did and shortcomings, I really don't believe I deserve all this crap. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. Good thing is that with all her actions she's making me see her real self, and my love for her is getting weaker and weaker. I will pull through from this. I will get out of this hole. The insanity continues. My son's mother won't allow me to have my son over when is my weekend. Her excuse is that the agreement my lawyer submitted after 3 hours of negotiations with her and her lawyer is vague and she's looking after our son's best interest. BS. Her initial agreement was for me to spend only 18 hours a month with him. No sleepovers until I have my own place, and until he was 6 years old. He would spend every long weekend, Easter, carnivals, long weekend here, November Memorial long weekend, and most long weekends with her, up to and including Christmas and New Year's. My lawyer turns it down obviously. Her stupid excuses for not letting my son spend the night with me at first were that I wasn't mature enough, no criteria and judgments, and that I had to prove myself. BS. Now her excuses are, he can't spend the night with at my brother and sister-in-law's place, where I sleep, because they throw parties. BS. They have gotten together like every other couple or family, same as my STBX and I used to have. He can't spend the night with me at my mom's because my mom had post-traumatic stress from my stepfather's death 2 years ago and she wasn't doing well. BS. My mom is perfectly fit mentally and physically. He can't spend the night with me at my dad's, who she's very fond of, because he lives in a high-rise condo, 36th floor, and doesn't trust the windows. BS. Windows are perfectly safe and secure. So, I called my lawyer and she's going first thing on Monday to see how the visitation and custody case is going. Things in our country take forever, and write a very nasty letter to the child custody court. What did I do to this woman? Wouldn't sell her my share of the apartment that I still pay for the $15,000 she proposed. My share is about $50,000 and I was willing to drop it to $35,000 for her. She can't and won't pay me that, plus she needs to change her car in 2 years. What the hell? I wouldn't pay her the $800 plus she wanted for child support. Offer her $450 and she wouldn't have it. So, I went ahead and did a petition for voluntary child support. The court hearing is on the 25th of March. I had bought tickets for all of us to go on vacation to the States last year in November, bought them in June, late June. When the crap hit the fan back in September, she told me that should be on hold. In October she said that it was best for us not to go on that trip since we would be spending money, and the situation was not ideal for us. I agreed, and she said she was still going to go solo because she wanted to take a seminar. That was part of the ideal plan, and that she would pay me the ticket. I said fine. So, this week she tells me that she's going to go in a couple of weeks, and that we still need to see what and how are we going to do with the apartment. What the hell, it was decided that we were going to sell it. It's like she wanted to pay me out of her share once the apartment is sold. I said, you are still going to pay me for that ticket. She said, of course. So, I opened an account for our son, like a fund trust for his education, and my dad gave us $5,000 for it. That was back in 2013. I said to her, I don't want the money, but I want you to transfer those $720 to our son's account for his education. Yes, she is pissed because she thought she was going to go to her seminar for free. Pay me the $720 once the apartment is sold. No way. Cake eating at its best. She can go to hell. Bipolar moonshine Batman. Took out my son today the whole day. X and I exchanged texts during the day to see how S3 is doing and all. I mentioned to her that the late trip to the park had turned into a picnic since I twisted ankle jumping with son earlier on. She tells me to put ice on it. When I dropped him, I'm cool and not into chit-chat, and she looks at my bandaged ankle and starts smiling, like trying hard not to laugh. I said, what's so funny? She starts joking about my ankle and me trying to catch up with my son and doing things with him that I can't anymore, not being a kid anymore. So, I smiles and said, well yeah, he's hard to keep up with. I should have left there, but we kept talking for a couple of minutes about her cousin having a baby today, and her being the godmother. I said congratulations, and told her my plans with S3 tomorrow. Called son, hugged him, say goodnight and left. I'm not saying she's bipolar, but this woman some days has so much anger and resent, and others like today it's like we are pals. Not falling into it. I'm trying not to engage with her, but sometimes it's difficult because of her constant cake eating and with the whole situation with my son. Example, we were supposed to go last November on vacation to the US. I had bought the tickets in late June last year, when she asked me to leave the house in late September, and I foolishly did. We talked about the trip and she said, we'll see. Early October she tells me she thinks it's better if we don't go and spend the money on the trip since we would be faking it in front of the family, and that she tried postponing her seminar, one of the reasons for the trip, but there were no options for the seminar later on, and that she would be going solo to her seminar and she would pay me the ticket. I said fine. The next day I sent her an email with the price of the ticket so she can pay me. No response, and for some reason she doesn't go to her seminar. No more talk about the tickets, the seminar, or the trip in all these months. Last week she told me that she found another seminar and that she's going, and tells me that we still have to see what's going to happen to that apartment, meaning that she will pay me the $720 out of her share once the apartment sells. She doesn't tell me that. I know that's what she meant. So, I said, you are still going to pay me for the ticket? She says, since day one I told you I would. I said, I will open a savings account for S3 education. I want you to deposit the money in his account. All this via text. No response. I opened the account last Thursday and texted her the number and said, I appreciate if you deposit in his account the money before you leave for your seminar. No response. You see where this is going, right? So yesterday she texted me that she had to buy S3 some juice and cheese and it was X amount. So to transfer her the money I say, okay, when are you going to transfer the money from the ticket to S3 account? She says, you know, I don't have that amount right now. I told you since the beginning that I would pay you out of the sale of the apartment, or what I can do is transfer you each payday some money until I pay you off. I said, this is not my money, it's S3 money. I understand that you don't have the amount right now. So yes, do transfer money each payday until you have paid the $720 off, and send me the print screen to see that you do. First of all, back in October when we talked about the trip and everything, we were not talking divorce or selling the apartment. So she's lying once again and rewriting history. Second of all, she has got to be the most selfish person I have ever known or met. If things were the opposite and I was the one that asked for the D and she had paid for tickets, I would never in a million years have moral grounds to go on a personal trip with the ticket she paid for, let alone without paying her the total amount first. I get she has done what she wanted so far because I have let her, not anymore. No more cake eating from this woman. Of course, when I dropped S3 yesterday afternoon, she had a face of stone. She was angry because she thought I would let her off with the ticket. I didn't say anything, dropped my son and said goodbye to him and left, not a word to her. Everything's a battle these days. The child support court hearing is next week, and then wait for the visitation and custody hearing, as X is not letting my son spend the night with me yet. This makes me sad and angry. Can't let it show though. Been having a very couple of rough days, depressed and wondering how I did. We got to this place. Treating each other badly and not been with my son every day breaks my heart. Being like this, torn away from everything that meant something to me brings me down a lot. I've been trying to do activities with friends and family and I do all right, but constant thoughts of not being a constant part of my son's everyday life, even though I pick him up daily to take him to school, just really sadden me. I know life is not fair, and this is what happens when you get D, but I didn't ask for this and neither did I behaved in a way to have my son taken from me like this. It's painful, and days like this I feel really low. Obviously, the person I married is not there anymore and has shown its true colors, and they're ugly. I do not want to be with a person like that, but at the same time I do miss my family, my home, my life. It's like life nowadays don't have much meaning to me. Every day is kind of empty, except when I'm with my son. Taking him back to his mom often leads me to cry in the car on the way back. This is definitely the lowest point of my life and I have to crawl back to the surface. But it's very hard. My lawyer is backing me up and we are waiting for the date on the court hearing regarding child custody and visitation rights. X doesn't want my ass to spend the night with me yet. That is the main issue we are legally fighting. I stood my ground this weekend regarding the activity I wanted to take my son to. Never backed down and she had to concede. Obviously Shaw made it seem like she was giving me a lease on trust. BS, saying she didn't trust me because of my past actions. Taken advantage of incidents where I drank too much, but I never put my son's well-being in danger. Anyway, took him to the activity but X was giving me hell, whatever. Part of the current situation happened because of our different personalities. She's a type A and I'm a type B. A lot of it happened because after our S was born, she expected different from me, to step up to the plate, more alpha and more proactive in the family decisions. I didn't, or maybe I did. Some of nice guy syndrome. Maybe, not quite. Big problem is I didn't do or acted as she expected. I'm my own person, and a much more relaxed human being, not as stressful and structured as X. She couldn't deal with it, her problem. Of course, she didn't say anything back then because she expected me to figure it out myself. Anyway, that is in the past. I do admit that I have let her control the situation so far, first out of guilt and then trying to get her back. No more. Said it in Sunday when we had the discussion about her not wanting me to take our son to that trip out of town. I never backed down, never. I said, I don't care, I'm picking him up at 10 on Sunday and taking him there. The sneaky person she is wouldn't confront me. She waited until late at night to send me a text saying no. Of course I kept my cool and rebutted her dumb arguments and stood my ground. The next day she texted me before 7 a.m. You know why? She wanted to see if I was hungover or something. Of course I wasn't. I stopped getting drunk long time ago. Matter of fact, I quit beer, which was an issue sometimes before. Only a couple of glasses of wine. I never responded her text. Then she texted again asking about the activity I was taking my S3 to. She had to concede. So yes, you are right. When I have stood my ground in a smart, calm, collected way, she had to step back. I will continue this path. I will not concede an inch for my son, but I will fight the smart fight, pick my battles wisely and let my lawyer handle the rest. I've been in a good mood the last couple of days, much more positive. Been looking also at outside options to advance my career. I believe the time has come to do something different. Been kind of stale at my current job for a while. That was part of the problem in my M as I became depressed a few years ago and that affected my perspective on everything including M. Spending time with my son has been incredible, really enjoying that. Still not spending the night with me, but we will get to that son. Our apartment has been on sale for some time now and our D is pending on that really. I offered to buy my ex share of the apartment last week if we do not get a fair offer on the condo after some time. I'm the most interested on the sale, since I need to find a new place. Ex is still living in a bubble as her situation hasn't changed much since the separation, but will after she has to move back to her parents once the condo sells. Shock reality. My situation from where I'm standing and looking can only get better, unlike hers. 2 weeks ago I got into an argument via text with X regarding her not letting my son spend the night with me and giving me excuses. I got tired of it and told her if I needed to move back to the apartment so I can spend the night with my son, if so I would do it right away. No answer as always, and I said I would talk to my lawyer, which I did, and the whole child custody and visitation proposal is at the court right now. Things in our country take forever to get processed. I had a great weekend. A friend of mine that's been counseling me regarding spiritual faith and getting me closer to God invited me to a spiritual retreat. But it wasn't your typical spiritual retreat where you pray and all, but it was one where you worked in small groups and you touch on different subjects and express what has been hurting you. Never knew it would be so easy to open up to strangers. Of course, they don't know you so they don't judge. It was like a weekend therapy for me, and listening to people's problems and hurts and being there for them, comforting them, praying for them and them doing the same for me was very cathartic. Made some great friends in that place and will continue to meet with the group at the church on Wednesday. My son wasn't with me on the weekend. He was with his maternal grandparents on their farm and he had a great time, which is the most important thing. Him mom is still on a seminar at Florida and will be back tomorrow. Haven't zero outspoken or texted with her, which is for the best. Surprisingly, I have been having good communication and relationship with my in-laws. X was tempted to talk to my father-in-law, X, great guy, about the situation, but decided not to. I don't know. There are days that I wish we could work something out, the X and I, and others where I just know this is the best and that we are not compatible, or too many things have happened and there's too much resentment on both sides for it to work out. We put the condo on sale and some people have gone to look at it. One couple went with my brother and sister-in-law yesterday and really liked it. 2 more are going to today and I will be showing them the place. This makes me sick to my stomach to have to get rid of our apartment. So many memories. And remembering my son taking his first steps, crawling, or his first words there breaks my heart. But it is what it is. There seems to be no other way right now, so. On Wednesday we have the court hearing on child support and I will meet with my lawyer today to discuss strategy and get our plan together. A friend gave me an advice not to engage with X, not to fight, not to fall into her traps, to pick out my battles wisely. And that's what I've been trying. Will be hard after Wednesday, but have to keep moving forward. Sometimes I look back at our M and can't believe we are at his place right now. Amazing how much anger and resentment has been built because of this situation, how much hurt has been inflicted both ways. I have taken the high road and decided not to get into arguments or engage with X. This morning I went to pick up my son and take him to school. I said good day, don't know if I got any answer from her. When I dropped him I texted her as usual to say that he arrived fine and that I will see him Tuesday and Wednesday as well as this Easter weekend, as it was my right. We have half Thursday and Friday off here in our country. I got no answer. Typical. No distress, I will continue my path in getting that bond tighter with my son, which is the main thing here. Hopefully we will get an offer on the apartment this week so we can move on. She might obstruct the sale saying she wants a higher offer. Anything we get over X is good enough. If we get an offer that's good enough and she gets stupid, I would say either you buy me out, which you can't, I buy you out, which I can to a certain extent, or we take this offer. If you want to wait for a higher offer, then you move out to your mom's and I move back into the apartment while we wait. Of course she won't like this, but I've had it. My patience has been tested for over 6 months and she can't have everything her way. Feel bad for my dear son to be caught in all of this. It's unfortunate that we have come to this. I never wanted it in the first place, but in a way, she has set the tone, saving all our text conversations since October, looking for ways to incriminate me or making me look like a threat to her or unreliable as a parent. You don't do that, especially as I haven't screwed her over or taken advantage of her. Seems like she wanted to have all ducks in a row and looking to find ways to have the upper hand. It seems I have 2 choices, to bow down my head and accept her proposals and keep playing the guilty husband who would do anything to please his STBX and in that sense ruin my economic and living future, or protect my interests and fight for what's fair so I can provide my son and as well myself a better future together where I can think of a better tomorrow, but in the path piss off the X more and more, though creating an unstable situation. Both scenarios are not easy. I believe child support and custody and visitation rights decided by a judge is not ideal, but it would be fair. The quickly we sell the apartment, the faster we can both move on with our lives. I don't get how she didn't think of the consequences when she first thought of getting a divorce has consequences and mostly bad. You know, a part of me still loves her as a woman and of course she will always the mother of my son, but for all my faults, shortcomings, childhood issues and mistakes I had in my it saddens me to end up like this. You know, I will always wondered why she didn't fight it more for us, for our son. Maybe in her head she did, and maybe we are just incompatible and she knew after 5 years that she wasn't going to love me anymore, but damn, it was worth a shot, at least to say we tried everything. Now I want this to be done, move on and live a healthy, fulfilling life with my son. I have no ill towards my ex. I really wish her the best. For my son to be okay, she has to be okay, right? My comment, what do you think about the ending? I mean, OP still has feelings for her, but at least he moved on. I don't expect people to erase their feelings right away, but walking away from your partner who committed infidelity is the first step towards a better direction. Do you guys agree? Subscribe, comment down, and I would start working on the next video.